we have 3 to 5 days of food. Within 30 days, half of the population of North America will be dead without war, without another Katrina, without a nuclear bomb going off in Chicago, Denver, or San Diego, or Los Angeles. That's the reality. As cruel as it is, I'm a trauma doctor, I'm a burn doctor, I'm a realist, I'm an optimist, but optimism starts from the point of reality first, planning second, and response third, rather than being a victim. Yeah. Yeah, come on over here. Yeah. Yeah, come on over here so we can hear here. Yeah, your question. Your first name is?
Annette, I've got a quick question. If a person encountered a situation where they wanted to kill themselves instantly, what would be a substance that they could take?
Why would somebody want to kill themselves?
I don't know, but if they needed to, what could you do?
I'd much rather give somebody else the pleasure of killing me while I'm trying to kill them.
In that case, what could they use?
Well, there's all kinds of ways. I don't want to elaborate on that. Let's put it this way. They have these little bottles they keep on taking in the airline. You can't bring water bottles on, and they triacetone, triperoxide bombs. Total garbage. Those bombs you can only make at very low temperatures. You have to be basically almost freezing in order to actually create them. They're so unstable they literally burn your hands off. So when they try to say this, they realize that most people haven't passed first-year chemistry and don't understand it. I know at least a half a dozen ways that could take a jet airliner down with something I can take on my person that nobody will ever detect by any molecular means. I know lots of ways of making directed energy and other types of weapons that I can manufacture by going to the local hardware store. They could basically outtake somebody with a 50 caliber gun. So if they really want to pick a fight, they're going to pick it with the wrong guy. And my buddies are very, very brave. They will stand up. And this government better take notice that we are not going to put up with them selling out to globalists. They themselves are putting themselves and their own daughters. George Bush's daughters are in jeopardy. They're breathing depleted uranium. As we stand here breathing today, we're breathing 4 to 8 times the amount of nanoparticles of depleted uranium that they allow a uranium miner by the Environmental Protection Agency. We are about to turn the Earth into a dying cinder with our DNA being fried by depleted uranium, which looks like, as we approach the Christmas season, if you look under a scanning electron microscope, they look like little Christmas balls under the microscope. These are 1 nanoparticle will kill you. 1 nanoparticle. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Bill. This is such a happy presentation. I'm about ready to go to the other side.
Well, don't. No. See, there's always a buzz inside. That's why I bring people down, and you see in the other presentation, I bring them back up. But the thing is, I believe in this. You never show the children the edge of the bottomless abyss without making them realize that they have wings.
Excellent.
There's always a solution, but you have to ask the right questions. And what I really get disturbed by is people who focus on 1 or 2 issues alone, whether they call themselves patriots or whatever, and not connecting all the dots or realizing that at the end of their matrix, there's another matrix. And there's many patriots, and I won't mention names, that say they don't like whistleblowers. They're a dime a dozen. We are the cannon fodder of the New World Order. We are the backbone that the journalists receive our information. And my message today is to all the whistleblowers, the people who are getting administrative renditions, whether they're doctors like me, attorneys, military personnel, special forces, government bureaucrats, of this and every other country. You need to stand up and realize we want to stand with you because we know that you know what the hell is going on, whether you're that Canadian that works on the Aurora spacecraft will fly between here and our moon base that's mining helium-3 on that city, or our colony on Mars, or our space platforms, or our Star Wars-based technology and weapon systems that they keep lying about to the Canadians and other people, saying someday we'll weaponize space. They want the Canadians to know, so if they ever shoot anything down that's radioactive, you won't complain when most of Ontario becomes radioactive. That's why they want to make sure the Canadians are on board, because it's already up there and has been for decades.
Question then about who's behind all this. Is it Michael Tessarian and his, if you're familiar with his alien Anunnaki?
I'm going to get into that stuff.
Okay.
That's part of my next talks. That's why I want you to understand that we're dealing with not just a human war, we're dealing with a war of as it says in the Bible, which has some truth. We are at war not with flesh and blood, with both principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. We're dealing with transdimensional and what I call IFE and life, and I'll explain that later in one of my slides. We're dealing with beings that are far beyond the range of the mundane existence of normal human beings, that are in higher dimensional planes and galactic areas and in worlds far beyond ours. And they have transferred technologies and made treaties with our governments and traded in human flesh to the great disgrace of our governments for decades. And this evil has to stop now. And we had the Red Cross and Dime Corporation had, for example, the equivalent of 4 stadiums of women and children that disappeared in Eastern Europe alone just in the year 2005. And the Red Cross in Europe actually gave them notice. Now, where do you think they disappeared? They didn't just disappear to brothels and body houses in Israel and Saudi Arabia, which are the 2 primary places, or in facilities off of Africa and pleasure palaces that are in these large cruise ships. No, they disappeared in underground laboratories where there's genetic experiments done on them and horrendous things. They disappeared in off-world facilities, and they disappeared in space platforms orbiting around the Earth. They disappeared in other facilities where there's unspeakable things that I won't mention to you, otherwise I'll lose it, that are happening to these human beings because our gutless governments have made treaties with these beings. And you need to know that that's a reality. It's not imaginary. That's where they've got a lot of this technology.
During the last few days, there was a rather frightening story about a Russian scientist dying of uranium poisoning.
Yeah, it was actually polonium-210.
And
that
plus
was Litvinenko.
Others have died, and they're talking about they have to do the autopsy in spacesuits. It does seem to go along with what you're saying. I just wanted to get your take on that.
Well, what I've seen so far, and I've heard some theories, one of the theories that seems to hold more water, and again, I don't know all the details, is that it was actually not done by the Russians, but it was done by the British, because what the British have been trying to do is stage a takeover of Russia, because what happened is last year, Mr. Putin said, I'll be a nice boy to you bankers in London and the Rothschilds, and I'll make sure all of our nice Russian oil money goes directly in your nice Rothschild banks. Until finally, and you see now Putin, although he may be a short guy, he's a tough guy. And he's also a Russian.
I believe he's stepping down for somebody else, is he not?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
And besides, a lot of times these guys are more powerful when they're no longer in the front line. They're behind the scenes being the puppeteers. And Vladimir Putin was probably actually set up. They probably killed this guy, Litvinenko, the British did, because they've been trying to actually stage a coup in Russia, just like they had tried to carry orange revolutions off in other countries over there, because they have to neutralize the Russians, because the Russians have advanced scalar weapons. They have the advanced Topical missile. They have the most advanced anti-aircraft missiles and systems in the world. They have the most advanced biological weapon systems in the world that were developed in Russia. And they have scalar technologies decades beyond America, although America's built very big systems like the HARP system, the one off in the Pacific in Diego Garcia and elsewhere. These systems are very advanced, but the Russians have been decades and decades ahead. That's why rather than using thermal standards for their radiation effects, even 50 years ago, the Russians had radiation levels that were 10,000 times lower because they could see non-thermal cellular effects with scalar signals as long as 70 years ago. So the Russians are very aware of the effects of scalar technology on biological systems in human cells, which is why they don't allow the kinds of levels of radiation. We have 100,000 times as much harmonic radiation in our cities, like in this city in Los Angeles, than there was 10 years ago. And the most deadly poison on Earth is not heavy metals or even depleted uranium. It's scalar harmonic energies coming off everything from your cell phones to your grids. And all they need to do is pump a signal along that has scalar signals that's biocoded to specific centers in your brain to insert ideas, to kill, to make you confused, or to make you fall asleep. And they can make entire populations do whatever they want. Or kill you. And they can do that today. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, how did you acquire all this information? It's an incredible amount. I think you said you had a photographic memory.
Fairly close.
And you seem to remember everything you've been told. Is that
pretty close?
Yeah, that's really remarkable.
It's a gift that I was given, I think, for this moment. And you'll see that I've been called not only as a doctor and a scientist, but I'm called here, when you see my other talks, I'm called to speak as a prophet. And I'm talking about in the words of the prophets of the ancient ages, like the last great prophet, Yeshua HaMashiach.